Hello, all you Wookiee warriors. How's it going? So today we're going to be discussing lies. I promise not to lie. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Because we just beat Lies of P. I think it was Friday. Yeah, last Friday. Which ooh, it definitely pushed me. But we're getting ahead of the review. Um, so a few things I want to discuss before we go further. So I'm on. Let's talk about Lies of P, kind of what it's about a little bit. So I'm not gonna do spoilers, so don't have to worry about it. So basically, what Lies of P is a Souls game or Souls variation, I should say. Um, so if you guys are familiar with Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Neo, um, Elden Ring, it's going to play very similar to that. But it's going to be a very, very linear story. But don't let that discourage you because it is a very fun game. So far, I beat it. So, um, and the premise of the game, as the title states, is lies. Um, is that Pinocchio goes through the game to get past certain things, to do certain things, he has to lie. And you have to choose whether when it is appropriate to lie or tell the truth. So, what the gameplay is going to be? So moving on, the gameplay itself, I found was very fun, very engaging. I liked it. Um, I personally found the weapon variety very fun, especially when you get later into the game, you get different weapons. Some of the weapons you feel like, oh, I wish I had this at the beginning because the boss was weaker to it. But then again, the boss fight would have been a lot easier. Um, and I liked it, even though I never really experimented too much with it. The mechanic is that you can actually craft the weapon to your liking. So you could take. You also have to make the decision though, because right now, like say its stats were say 34 physical, 34 electrical, and whatever. But you take the handle and you place it, you might lose some of that damage. So you really have to decide whether you want to lose it or use it. Then there's the level up mechanic, which was pretty easy. I mean, if you want to take in comparison, it's pretty much like the Shrine Maiden. You go over to the Shrine Maiden, you dump your Indo, even though I called it Echo, Echoes or Souls. You're still gonna say it. Um, and I'm trying to remember what I was trying to say. So, I mean that, like I said, that's going to be pretty self-explanatory. Um, but I think where the game gets more engaging is the enemy, the enemies. I'm not going to say variety because throughout the game you're basically fighting, the same type of enemies, even though they do change it up throughout the story. Um, there are some enemies that will challenge you. I think that's where the game really shines, is where it challenges you. Um, Whereas instead of fighting like, oh great, I have to fight another one of these, and it's more like it may be the same enemy, but it challenges you. It might be a different situation. You might have to fight more of them. I also love the character variety in the game. You run across a few different NPCs throughout the game, which gives you different stories. There's also side missions you can do in the game. So there's definitely a lot to do in the game, even though it's um, very linear. It's still very engaging because you can do different aspects of the game. You can go and do side mission for Sally. No, there's no NPC called Sally. I'm just using that because there's no. I'm not, throughout the review, there will be no spoilers. Um, then there's boss variety. One boss I'm not gonna bother with naming is because it's in the trailer. You see that it was in the demo. It's not a big spoiler. Is the I keep on thinking parade, but I think it's Pride Master Puppet of Pride or something like that. Prod or something like that. I found him very challenging. I still found him very challenging because I actually went to the game, the beginning of the game, twice because I didn't realize there was boss souls, and I used one of them. And I'm glad I kind of went back and retracked. Um, and the boss weapon is actually pretty fun too. There's definitely a lot of variety. Like my first playthrough, I just went and got all the boss weapons. There's actually boss weapons and boss amulets. So you have to choose whether you want the weapon or the amulet. And actually, the amulets actually are pretty handy. So I'll probably go through my next playthrough just getting all the amulets. Um, but I found he was very unpredictable still. At least for me, my personal experience is that he was still very unpredictable. Then there was because at the beginning, like you kind of figured him out. He, but then when he like rips off his head and he starts using like a mallet, he gets way more aggressive. He gets way more hostile, more quick, and a little bit more moments. So I still found him very challenging, and that was something that I really appreciated. It's even a boss maybe you fought five times maybe or more, it still feels like a challenge to you. Um, I definitely like the story. At first, it's a little confusing, but once you start getting into the game and once you start, talking to the NPCs, you start realizing what's going on in the world. Then you start piecing together, like, oh, okay. Um, Graphically, it is beautiful. Now, like I said, I don't think I said it yet. The game itself is very impressive for a small studio to develop this. Um, it is just massively impressive, especially how smooth it ran. Like I didn't getting ahead of myself. Sorry. Like I said before, the graphics are absolutely beautiful. Um, Definitely keeps the world alive. Um, like when you like when you're talking to like say for instance Geppetto, you actually can see like some facial expressions, not just like womp, 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 like kind of like the old school games. I think I believe there was some wind effects in the game. Um, I don't remember 100%, but I think there was like if you look at a tree, there was wind blowing through it. Um, Especially like when you look at the special effects such as like lightning. Um, when you get a crit on a boss, you kind of see go, you know. That was we'll be talking about that in a second because that's mechanics. Yeah, graphically, absolutely stunning. Next, talk about combat. So I guess we can call it combat slash mechanics. Um, so I found the combat was actually pretty fun. Like I said, the playstyle will change for depending on what weapon you decide to go with. So if you decide to go with the big weapons, you're going to be slightly slower, but it never felt like, hey, I'm going to be like, if you guys play Dark Souls, you guys will know what I'm talking about. You use the big swords. It's not gonna be like, you know. But you do have to just make the choice whether you want to have a big sword or the smaller sword. Because if you have the smaller sword, you're not going to be as encumbered, and that's something weird in the game. Is that if you get yourself, you do get encumbered, but it seems it takes a lot to get encumbered. But if you have to manage your weight, because your weight is affected by it affects your stamina. Yeah, it affects how fast your stamina revives, which I thought was a very interesting choice because you see a lot of people just really just don't want to get fat rolling. But this one actually says, okay, well, let's say your weight level is 100 and you're weighing 45, your stamina is not going to revive as quickly. Now there is a caveat: you can equip a ring that helps with the stamina regeneration, but it still you have to play kind of like management with your weight. Then there's a mechanic. It's called I think they call it fatigue, something like that, where the boss actually just kind of goes, the bar flashes white. And this was where I actually had some issues sometimes with the mechanic. Is you have to hold down the R2 button, which is the heavy attack. Then you have to hit him with it so he staggers him, and then he'll kind of slouch down. And you gotta position yourself right in front. There's a little circle. You have to position yourself. Then you push um, R1, which will get you into an animation to give him more critical DPS kind of thing. But sometimes it seems like it's harder to do it depending on the weapon, I guess. Like if you're using a lighter weapon, you could probably do that with a lot of ease because I found using the dagger on one boss was a lot easier. Um, but it seems like sometimes it's a lot harder. One of the there's a boss weapon I like using because you're able to kind of use like a whip, uh, so you can stay a little bit of a safer distance and still get the crit. Um, but I just found sometimes that just getting it was a little bit more, to me on certain bosses than versus trying just to DPS. One of the mechanics that is very helpful, and I'm not gonna lie, I used this one to very a lot, is the Spectre. And you don't realize how much the Spectre spoils you towards the end of the game. Um, but yeah, the Spectre definitely takes a lot of the intensity away. I'm gonna put it that way. It's because the now you don't want to just like you just can't go to the corner, sit back, eat popcorn, let the Spectre do it. No. What I usually do with the Spectre is I go and I kind of tag team him. Like he'll take the aggro, I'll get him from the boss from behind until he's like, "Hey, I see you there." And I'll just kind of take the aggro, dodge, and then do some hits. I'm focusing mostly on dodging until his aggro goes back to the Spectre. And there is a mechanic where it's called the wishing cube, where you can actually equip like gems inside of it. Now, here's something I wish we could do. Once I explain what the wishing cube is. So it's a cube that you can, as it states, kind of like a pine resin for the Spectre. You can equip fire, acid, electricity. You can make it so he can take more damage. He can make it so he inflicts more damage. Um, you can even revive him after death. Although I think that one should be permanent, to be honest, because it only lasts for a little while. But what happens when you so if you because this happened to me, I used it and I didn't understand it. Is I used it like, oh, he'll come back. No, if the timer runs out on one of the the abilities, one of the buffs, gone. So depending on which one you use, I think it should be with the like he comes back, he avoids death after he dies, should be permanent, not temporary. Then there's one where you can just revive his health. So that mechanic alone was interesting because I didn't realize until I got the motion kit. I'm like, oh, what is this? And I used it and then there was no effect. But then I used it when I started seeing the. Then I started reading. I'm like, oh, Spectre. Okay. Um, but yeah, this I feel that the Spectre really um, spoils us. Kind of like if you look at Elden Ring. Elden Ring. Um, there's the what was it called? The tier, mimic tier, which you can bring into a fight, which basically mimics you, and it's like a summon. So yeah, I definitely see how it does. Um, does spoil us. I'll admit to that. It does. It did spoil me. But you get star fragments like crazy in the game. Like I wasn't even actively farming them, and I was just getting them because I was like farming either echoes or occasionally I would farm the echoes, but aside from that, like that's when I got my star fragments was when I was getting that. I did feel that the store the the merchants were a little bit too expensive because it seems like I have to spend more time farming to get certain amounts of weapon items than I did have been getting enough of them, you know. Because I didn't want to farm forever, so I ended up getting a set number, like say 6,000 Indo or Echo, whatever you want to call use, whatever term you want to use. Um, because I only got the amount I needed for that fight. Now, if you do multiple runs, you wish you had more, but I wish they would just tone it down a little bit instead of 400, maybe like 150 per item, something like that. Make it a little bit easier on the players. Now there is the P organ, which is your heart. You can there is something in there that lets you bring down the prices, but I don't think it's that much. That's another mechanic. Is you also want to? I've actually respected like two or three times throughout the game because I needed. I wanted more uses with the cube, or I wanted to have more uses with this. So I had to re-strategize my character, especially towards the very final fight of the game, which is actually an optional boss. Um, but not the final boss, but it can be an optional boss depending which ending you go for. Now, I think the only other mechanic to go think about to go over was the grinder. So the grinder mechanic I actually liked. It does get a little bit more intense when you're in a boss fight because your weapon is um, no other way of saying it, breaking. So the weapon degradation system is there, but it's not like it's going to break with one hit. So they give you mechanics so you can do that in mid fight. You don't have to break a weapon, then go to a blacksmith and refix it and waste more money. No, but there was an item that fixes it for you, but it's just like it seems like a useless item because I've even broken a weapon once and it repairs itself once I go to the star um, umbrella stargaze. I think it's called stargaze. I call it star umbrella because it's like an umbrella in a holder. And I'm please let me know, guys, if you guys can't hear me because I'm sitting a little further away from the mic. I'm trying to talk quietly because that's one of the reasons I went to give thumbs up. Was my sister was standing. She's like, you're being too loud," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I'm trying to be as quiet as possible because it is 5 in the morning. At the time of recording. Um, that was I guess that's another mechanic. That's something else I think they added was the star gazers was really nice. It was really cool. Well placed. There's sometimes I felt like I had to do a little bit more running for a boss. which is okay. I'm just, I guess you could say I was being lazy. Um, but again, the grinder actually can be used to apply later in the game once you unlock the ability to you get a special, I guess you can say equip, so you can actually apply buffs. You don't have to just go out and buy the grinder, the special grinder. You can apply that to your grinder, so you don't have to keep on wasting money. You get two for free, pretty much. I use that quite a bit, and there are multiple ones. There's like fire, lightning, um, acid. Then there's like one that helps with crit damage, and a few others. Um, so I definitely like how much they incorporated the grinder into the game and the mechanics for the game. I wish something like that was in Zelda. You know, many times in Zelda I've broken weapons, and I'm like, I didn't want to break it. I wish I could have just repaired. Like, say I was using like in Zelda, like if I was using the not the Master Sword, but the Fierce CD sword. All I had to do is just like pull out a little device, fix it, versus breaking them. So another thing is how. So this is part of the mechanics. Is if you tell a lie, the game is going to kind of rate you. So another thing, the only thing I could figure for that would be if you ever played a game called Metro. Um, there's a mechanic in there where it kind of rates you unofficially, but it rates you on what you do. So it says like if you make this choice or this choice, at the end of the game, it's going to say you gives you the best good ending. If you don't do to get enough of excuse me, if you don't get enough good points, that way, you'll get different ending. So if you're looking to get the best ending, you're gonna have to um, go and I'm not gonna tell you guys how to get the good ending. You guys can research that on your own. But there is a mechanic where you do have to do things a certain way in the game to get the best ending. Now combat wise, what I felt the game played like was more like Bloodborne. As far as combat went, because now there's a caveat to this. Like if you want to do, you can get perfect block, which will negate your damage. If you just block, it does give you a little bit of damage. Then you can dodge, which also uses up your stamina. I found myself using dodge more than I use blocking. And it's just kind of more how I'm personally really I'm used to it versus in like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, all the games I usually dodge like crazy. So just trying to use my shield and soaking up the damage. This is how I play. Um, but I think, but, but still, I feel like it plays more towards like Bloodborne than it does any other game. At least my personal opinion. Now, perfect parry or perfect guard, I think there should be like because I was never proficient at. Maybe it's just me personally, but I would have maybe preferred maybe something I could equip to your weapons or something like that, or myself, which makes getting perfect parry or guard a lot easier to achieve. Like maybe like not having to time it so much, but maybe that's just me personally. Um, Now let's move on to. So we talked about story, we talked about mechanics, we talked about bosses and boss variety. Enemies, like I said, don't really have a variety. I mean, you're gonna have a big. There is a point in the game where it changes from puppets to another type of enemy, but it's relatively the same. Um, but like I said, each enemy I fought all brought an interesting challenge to it. So don't just like, oh great, we're gonna have the same mobs of enemies. But if you think about it, I don't really put a lot of stock in that. I have an argument because if you play games like Souls, there's always this. It's the same mobs of enemies, guys. It's just the different situations you get put into that makes them harder. Um, and they do get really clever with some of these enemies and some their placements. I really appreciated it. Now the the game played relatively smoothly, so this will be more performance, and this will be more of a section for performance. And if I had any issues, one, I didn't really have any issues throughout the whole. As far as I know, throughout the whole gameplay, I never had any issues. Not until the very end. Now you guys can actually watch one of my streams. I think it was towards the end. I had once crash, but I don't know if it was the game that crashed or my system that crashed the game. Because so I'm just adding it. I'm not gonna rate it on my score because I can't say for sure which it was. If it was the game or it was maybe my system just maybe saying, well, I worked a little too hard. I can't say for sure, but I'm still mentioning it that the game did crash. I mean, I did went ahead and reported it anyway. But that was the only big thing I ever had happen. The game didn't lag. The game didn't crash. No, it had one crash, but that was towards the end of the game, so um, didn't really have any frame rate drops that I saw. Although my eyes are not like trained for that, but it played and looked really good. Um, but that was really the only issues I ever had with the game. Everything else was just stuff you had to learn as you progress through the game. Um, and just kind of figure out your own personal playstyle. So yeah. So in conclusion, what would I rate? If I was breaking down everything and rating it, what would I rate it? For story, I'd give it 10 out of 10. For graphics, definitely 10 out of 10. Combat and mechanics, 10 out of 10. Gameplay, 10 out of 10. Um, how well did it play? I'd definitely give it a good solid. Well, it did crash once, so I'd give it a good solid 9 out of 10. But overall, what would I rate this game? I'd give it a solid 10 out of 10. It is an absolutely fantastic game, and I give it a higher, best grade I can get because for quite aside from all the reasons I just gave, I give it a higher good score because it got me raging. Now that's rare because I get this a lot on my channel. It's like, oh, you're not raging. You don't seem very angry. You gotta realize, like, if I'm playing a game like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I'm not gonna rage. I'm gonna be so relaxed that you think I'm at a beach. I mean, that's how relaxed I am. When I play games like Lies of P that I haven't played before, I'm gonna rage. Like you should go back to watching my Sekiro stream. That's when I really the golden years, the golden time of my rages. Um, but if a game can actually make me rage, you've done something correctly. you know. Um, so definitely for me, a 10 out of 10, absolutely fantastic. Actually, a Wookiee-tastic game. I was gonna try to yell that, but my sister's probably trying to sleep. guys are looking for a Soulside game to play, and you're like, what can I do? I've already played Dark Souls and Bloodborne to death. What can I do? Go try out Liza P. I already see that I can already tell. I always say tell, but I can foresee them doing a DLC or even a sequel to this game. I mean, with how the ending is done, I can definitely see them doing a DLC or a sequel to this game. I think it sold pretty well too, which is funny because I was talking to a friend of mine. He's like, "Oh, I've never heard of this." I'm like, "Yeah," and I tried to describe it without spoilers. And he's like, "Oh, I'll try this," because he has a PS4, I believe, and um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. The end of the review, guys. Down, let me down, go to down to the comment section below. Let me know what you thought. If you guys have played Liza P, or you guys watched my stream, or you guys watched content with it, let me know what you guys think of the game. I'm interested to know you guys' opinions and thoughts on the game. What did you find? What did you like about the game the most? Were there problems in the game that you didn't like? That maybe I didn't see or experience that you guys experienced? I would like to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section below. Um, if you are new to my channel, you guys are liking what you're seeing, you guys are like, hey, I like this guy's content. Let me see what else you guys do. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And hit that notification bell to be notified anytime videos come out and anytime I go live on a stream, which I do a lot. I do a lot of streams, but my streaming schedule has been kind of off lately. I've been busy and not sleeping very well. Also, if you guys wouldn't mind, if you guys could rate the video, give it a thumbs up. If you guys like, he did a really good job on this, I'm gonna give him a thumbs up. Or if you guys like, don't like this, you guys give it a thumbs down. Cool. But if you do give it a thumbs down, I hope you guys would give me a comment and let me know why I got that thumbs down. So the next time I have the opportunity to improve on the video. That's how I improve my videos, is by knowing what you guys didn't like about the video, and I can work on trying to improve. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys are having a Wookiee-tastic day, and I'll see you all on our next adventure. Until next time, see ya.